this is every 3D. This age is like every 3D artist's wet dream. Like I don't know, like I don't know how much more like ridiculously convenient it's going to get in the years to come. But damn, like right now, like so you've got Unreal Engine. I mean, like just all of the stuff that Epic's been sort of dishing out to the public for, you know, like if you're an Unreal Engine user now, like just all of the stuff that you get for free is ridiculous. Like that's, I mean, so anyone who isn't averse to switching DCCs or has kind of already been messing around with Unreal from before is like must be in cloud 9 by now, like now, right? I mean, but that's of course like that's basically what they want everyone to be thinking, like thank you Epic, like the Willy Wonka of you know, of today's like 3D community.
Yeah,
but like what I mean, I'm not really like I'm not trying to be like skeptical for the sake of it, or actually no, it is good to be skeptical. So
yeah,
like is there something going on under the surface is what I want to know. Like why are they, like what exactly are they thinking?
Yeah, I've read the nice, you know, conversation about that. I think it was on CG Press or somewhere. Like people were discussing this acquisition of Artstation by Epic recently, and you know, obviously discussing all the movements. And some people were enthusiastic about the Epic's movements, and there was one guy that was kind of like an old school developer of games. I think he seemed to have a history there. And he was kind of like very grounded about this, you know, not being super, I don't know, you know, obsessively scared about what Epic is doing, but he was just like pointing out that there must be a catch, you know, there's some kind of a strategy to it, and this is not like Epic being an angel of 3D artists. There's a business model in it. This is just a different paradigm of, you know, gaining new customers or gaining revenue, because they are kind of like building up an environment and trying to get a part of the whole world. And just monetize it differently than it was monetized before, because right now they have like they're providing a lot of free tools, free or low barrier of entry, but they are trying to, you know, trying to kind of like capitalize on the success of their user base, right? So if you're joining the creative industry, and once you succeed, they just get a, you know, they just get a cut on your success, right? Some percentage.
Although I am with Marco on this one, where I do feel a bit skeptical in a way. Like, have you guys watched Spider-Man Far From Home?
Yeah,
you know what this feels like? It feels like Mysterio. Like, they look good from afar, but it feels like, you know, there's something a little off about Epic, and like, I like what you're doing right now, and you look great, but you're up to something, you know. That's what it kind of feels like right now.
Yeah.
I
love how you kind of
or maybe even
like, I don't know,
right now you can't see it, or maybe they even can't tell exactly what they are after. You know, it's kind of like natural for big companies to try to fight for a big market share and stuff like that. And then, you know, it's like, it's always dangerous when a company gets like too big of a piece of that cake. Like, I'm pretty sure that it's almost always going to end up kind of badly for the majority of user base, because, you know, it just leads to a situation where the incentive to, you know, to change, to innovate, to adapt is getting too small, and the convenience of just being, you know, just monetizing on the status quo is like naturally kind of like an inertia thing, that the big companies just tend to be that way. And it's healthier when there are at least like a few options, so that you don't have to, you know, use one thing. Like, you can see it in the graphics industry. in a lot of places, like people get used to some kind of a dominant workflow or dominant tool, and then it just stops innovating, or at least loses pace. And the little ones are kind of like more risky, more flexible and stuff like that. That's just, I think that's the nature of things somewhat.
I don't know. It isn't like some kind of buyout tactic. Like they aren't actually trying to quell the competition. Like they've been giving, I mean, their support for Blender, for example, and a bunch of other software related to CG. It's like they're trying to propagate the use of sort of free software, and then they give Unreal Engine away for free, basically, and then like with the only condition that you kind of give them a cut if your game succeeds or whatever. It's a new model, basically. It's not it's kind of unprecedented in that they're not actively trying to shut down, or they're not like, I don't think of it as them like kind of clawing, like, like kind of like aggressively grabbing like the market share, if you can call it that. It's very, which is why it's strange. It's like it seems really benevolent, but you can't help but think that there's something kind of underhanded in what they're doing. I mean, at least personally, it seems like if, for example, so they acquired Artstation now, and if you look around Artstation for a while, like today, you'll see a lot of like anything that involves Unreal Engine seems to be, I don't know. I mean, or maybe it's just me, but or let's just say that it's possible that they could kind of manipulate the how Artstation curates things to kind of bring Unreal Engine to the fore. Like it's a way for them to kind of push their product, but it doesn't necessarily. I mean, I'm not sure how that's really going to work. Like it just seems like it's almost as if they're trying to make Unreal Engine like so good as a solution that you'd be crazy not to adopt it. And that's basically it.
Well,
and then they're giving it away for free so that the next generation of artists, like who of course like go for the free solution.
But we're kind of like biased on looking at this through the perspective of I don't know, 3D artists, but what Epic is really, I think, gaining money from is game industry sales, right? I mean, game sales, and
I was just thinking about
everything,
the 3D situation.
Yeah, everything's like the 3D creation is kind of like just a part of creating the environments of games, the stuff that's being sold to like millions of people playing games, and this market is like really big and is growing, and it seems like it's going to grow even more in the future. So they are trying to, I think, kind of build a strong position there, right, in the selling games, and they have their own store there, right? And we had this whole story about Apple Store and their court battles and stuff. That's also a part of this equation, I think.
Yeah, which is also strange. Like it's almost like a double standard. It's like they like Apple has a monopoly over the games industry, but like
it's kind of like in politics, these there are some kind of official values on front page and stuff, and there are stuff behind the scenes and stuff going on like under the hood.
Yeah, wait. Before we keep going, just so that the viewers don't get lost. So the reason we're talking about this is a couple of days ago, out of nowhere, Epic bought Artstation, and it was all over email. We all got like the newsletter, and you go to Artstation, and we're like, oh, we're part of the Epic Games family now. And so everybody was confused, like, hey, we get that you bought Quixel, we get that you got Unreal Engine. Why buy Artstation? Like, what's the motive behind buying Artstation? And every time, and I notice that every time a company buys another company, there's always this underlying fear of this product that I really, really enjoy using is gonna be tainted by whoever's running this bigger fish, right?
Right.
So
like the whole fear of Autodesk buying Blender.
yeah, the worst fear of every open source person is like a commercial company buying up that software, because that software will probably not be open source anymore. It's probably going to be a paid software, and you're like, now I gotta find an alternative.
Party's over, bitches.
Yeah.
And then also which comes in,
which it just doesn't include the thing that the GPL and all the open source
Blender's
copyleft licensing. It kind of like it ensures that even if it was kind of like somehow bought or whatever, you could always legally fork the application, make your own Blender and stuff. So the code is free, and it's free forever, right?
Yeah.
Unless
we can be sure that that's not going to happen.
Unless someone changes the whole rules of law and stuff, that always might happen,
So for the past couple minutes, we've been talking about I guess we have a skeptical view on this whole thing. Like, hey, this is cool, but there's something weird about it. So let's get into that. Like, okay, we've pointed out the cons, but what are the pros? What's there for us as a user to gain from this transaction?
Well, I'd say that, at least again, I'm just going to be coming from like the 3D user perspective. I don't really know much about, like, I don't really play that many, like, I don't really get to play video games anymore, so I don't know what's going on that front. But I mean, like, the pros are you can kind of parallel like the good things that Epic is doing to what Blender did, and how Blender became such a big thing today, right? Like, it started out as sort of this sort of soft, like this very like wallflower kind of piece of software that was available for everyone, but like nobody cared to give it a try because the interface was horrible, etc., etc. But they kept working on it, and now it really is a pretty powerful tool, and it's free. So,
but everybody is just a digression. That's not exactly the way that Blender began, because it has origins in a commercial development company.
No, yeah, I know. But
it was
that's a bit like that's more like, we don't need to get into the technicalities. I think like it's just more of
I think that's pretty interesting. Like, someone on a forum discussion, someone mentioned that it's kind of like for Blender, it's like a circling back to its roots right now, where it's getting so much funding from all the commercial commercial institutions, when it kind of succeeded as an open source tool, because it was bound to fail with the crisis. As a commercial tool, like, it was going to be shut down, by the company, and that's why Tom decided to make it open source, right? Buy out the copyrights, and it was open source, and then it kind of developed throughout the years after 2000 something, right? It was open source, and it succeeded, and right now it's kind of like getting back the money, the funding from the commercial world. That's kind of like an interesting.
Well, I don't know. I can't help but think that's what Ton had in mind anyway when he decided to go open source. Like, I know he's a really cool guy, but the developers had to be paid somehow, and I think this was part of his vision, right? Like that it will be a good tool. They'll develop it. Will be a good tool, like an honest to goodness, like Swiss Army knife of anything you need to do in 3D, and that's exactly what it became. And people appreciate it now, and more people are using it because it's getting easier to get into 3D, and nobody is going to want to pay hundreds of dollars for a 3D DCC. Like, so, I mean, it's not. I'm pretty sure Epic kind of saw that happen, and a light bulb went off in Epic's head, basically.
Yeah,
You know,
I think that's
like,
So what is this like? Is it like Epic trying to like build a gang of all the shy kids, the shy nerdy kids? Like, oh, we're gonna get these kids. They're gonna be like the future Bill Gates. These guys are gonna like kill the jocks and shit.
I think it's
I don't know.
I think it's
No, I mean,
not
okay,
that
like,
simple,
I think-
maybe, but that's
No,
know,
but-
it's about the scale, because doing like lowering the barrier. It's not just like Blender that did it being free. It's like there's a lot of businesses online, especially, that did that thing. Like, for example, like Google, Facebook, all those big giants of tech right now. They also kind of went that route of lowering the barrier, giving out free services. All those movements, like with the social media, they're all free, where you're kind of like the commodity, right? Your data, your time is being sold, right? Because your attention and stuff like that. So you're kind of like the product, and that's why the medium is free, because
And like just to kind of finish the
and
like,
I think like Epic is just following the same idea in the different setup, right?
I don't know.
Maybe
For me,
it's
basically,
better.
they're lowering the barrier so that more people will use. The lower the barrier, the more accessible your product is, the more people will use it. The more people use it in time, the more it becomes recognized as a standard. I mean, Blender, it might not be the same for Blender, because Blender wasn't necessarily touted like all of these years as a solution for real time. But Unreal Engine has been at sort of the forefront of of sophisticated real time rendering for a while, right? Like Twinmotion's been rendering for architects in real time for quite some time, and Unreal Engine 5 is coming out with crazy like GI for real time. Like they're positioned at this, like they're kind of at the forefront of this new trend in 3D. And then if they provide a solution to everyone while they're the only robust solution that's out there, then by the time anyone else catches up, like everybody will be so comfortable with Unreal anyway, and studios will have already probably adopted it, not just for game development but for any kind of like 3D visualization. I mean, so at least looking at it that way, it isn't surprising like to see them do what they're doing, and it's kind of a big investment, but they can afford it, I think, like because of what they've earned,
Fortnite
because
money.
of who they are, because of being Epic Games, Fortnite money, man, like I don't know, I'm not it's kind of unsettling. Like I'm kind of unsettled by it, but at the same time, it's like I can't really criticize what they're doing. I mean, it's not really bad form in terms of business strategy, I guess.
Mhm.
But I don't know. What about you guys? Like, is there any kind of what ulterior motives do you think they might be having?
For me, I'm not really thinking of it. I do have that vibe that there is something ulterior about it, but there wasn't there this conversation we have as artists where, okay, don't use Wix for your portfolio. Don't bother putting it on DeviantArt because you look weird. Don't put it on don't make your own website and make your portfolio from scratch and code the HTML. If you're an artist and you want your art out there, just post it on Artstation. If you want a website, go pro, make the Artstation a website, and then boom, you have like your portfolio, right? It like it's all in one place, so that recruiters can find you, so that other artists can find you, and you can share other art. It's like a social media. It's like Facebook for 3D artists, right? And what for me, if Epic bought Artstation, isn't that kind of helping I guess streamline everything? So instead of having to worry about, okay, I'm gonna make something in Unreal using Blender, and then I'm using Substance, and then I have to post it on Artstation and Behance. isn't that a good thing where, okay, there's less stuff to think about, more stuff in my brain for creative work, and just post everything on Artstation. And it's all in one place. If I want to log in, just use one login for everything.
Yeah, that's the that's the one ring to rule them all.
Yeah. Is that so bad?
That's
no, it's not bad at all.
That's I'd say that's convenient, but is it really good on all ends? Like that's controversial, because that's I mean, that would be cool if if the one that's holding the key to it all, if it was kind of like decentralized, or I don't know, somehow open sourced, or I'm kind of like a little bit worried when it's owned by a commercial company, because it's it's like some group of people that's kind of holding the keys to the playground, right? To the rules. They're setting up the environment, and they are controlling it. So I think this kind of like unification, it's convenient. It's always like that, but I think that maybe the better solution would be kind of some kind of a standards, open standards or whatever. I'm not sure how to really imagine that even, but always so much power, because it seems like, just from your perspective, it seems just like your convenience, but someone really at the end, someone kind of like decides what you can or you can't do. It's like with those battles for allowing or not allowing Epic to sell on Apple Store, right? It's like there are rules that Apple can, of course, because it's their kind of platform to sell the applications, and they are setting up the rules on how the developers can act on this, and finally they ban, because in their opinion Epic violated the rules. They kind of like banned it from selling on their platform, and at the same time they're kind of like deciding for all the user base, right? You are not allowed to decide whether you want Epic to behave like that or not. You're kind of like losing the vote with your wallet, or whatever, how to call it, right? You're losing your freedom for convenience, and that's the ultimate like threat of this whole situation, right?
Yeah, but I think we need to kind of, because I mean, but the weird thing is, like, Apple is Apple, but Epic, for example, the way they're positioning themselves, they're not positioning themselves like Apple did. Like they're super trying to present themselves as like the Robin Hoods, I guess. Like, I think in our previous conversation, I don't remember who mentioned that, but I think that's an apt like description, basically. Like they're like the Robin Hood of the game dev industry, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
or the CG, the 3D industry, and it's like they've already made the same promises. For example, Blender has in some of the products, right? Like Mixer is allegedly free forever, whether or not you have the Unreal license, and then Unreal's terms can change. But how much are they going to change it, knowing that they could easily, if they decide to become the next Apple, let's say. I mean, just trying to paint a picture here. I'm not really saying that like Apple is 100% evil, but let's say they become the next Apple, in as some of us might see it, right? Like, they've already seen, like, what's to stop another market force from being the next Epic in that scenario? Like, I'm sure they're aware of what the consequence will be if they decide to just kind of switch things up and be like, whoops, like we're not like Robin Hood anymore, like, like we're your overlords now. I mean, that's just not going to play out well for them, and they know it.
Yeah.
So I mean, okay, like if we try to keep it like super like smaller picture, I guess. Let's say, okay, so like let's say you're not an Unreal user, you decide not to ever be an Unreal user, and 5 years from now you're still using Artstation. Like how do you guys think that will look like? Like what do you think the repercussions will be for people who aren't joining the Unreal bandwagon, and are still using Artstation? Like in this case, like, so Epic acquired it sometime from now. Like what are your what are the worst case scenarios you think might happen?
From like a user perspective?
Yeah, from let's say from like specifically from someone like from a CG artist, basically, not using Unreal, posting stuff on Artstation, looking to get work and whatnot.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like each art community is built from what's the most popular on that site. So we all know DeviantArt is like for furries and 12-year-olds. No offense to like people who actually put professional work on DeviantArt, but that is like the vibe of DeviantArt, right? It's probably furries.
I don't know.
Probably like,
but I've seen a couple of like really good digital and traditional painters over there. But
when was the last time you saw an environment of DeviantArt?
No, dude, I haven't looked in a really long time. I didn't know that's what's happened.
No, I mean, like
furries.
that's kind of the thing. Like you're probably gonna see furries. You're probably gonna see anime girls, not even the good ones. And then and then we all know Behance is a graphic. It's more for graphic artists. Like you go there, you're probably gonna see someone designing websites, fonts, new kinds of like art styles or like illustrations from like artists or photographs, right? And then we all know Artstation as like the CG place. Nobody's really posting anything on like Blend Swap, you know. They want to show pictures. You're gonna show it off on Artstation. So I feel like it doesn't really change anything, you know. Like, okay, they bought Artstation. Nothing's changed. Like Artstation is still gonna be Artstation in the sense that it's still gonna be where people post CG art.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's sort of the thing. It's like so far it's just even in like kind of speculating on it. At least I also personally don't see how they could possibly screw us over, basically, unless they just totally 180 on their entire mission vision thing, which will not bode well for them unless they've gotten to a point where absolutely everyone is using Unreal Engine. Like our children's children know nothing else but Unreal Engine. And like if they decide to just do something, like nobody can do anything about it. But then like they recognize, for example, that and I'm not being a Blender cultist here, but like they gave Blender a mega grant knowing that Blender is going to stay neutral on that front. Like they can't really ever buy Blender into doing what they want it to do, because that's Blender's like mission statement, right? So they know that Blender is developing Eevee, and I'm not sure if like the guys developing Eevee are also taking cues from Unreal, but like Eevee in itself is also a pretty sophisticated real-time renderer, even if it doesn't really even if it isn't up to par with Unreal Engine. But they recognize that Blender is an entity that like is just there, right? So if they decide to end up becoming like to go from like Robin Hood to Sheriff of Rotterdam, then like it was Blender is right there. So
it was Nottingham. Rotterdam is in the Netherlands.
No, I wasn't sure if whatever. Yeah. So but Nottingham then. But like I mean it's strange, right? Like, well, how would you like, I really don't see I don't see them sort of doing a 180 on
let's talk about that though. Like
Yeah.
I think for the past couple of minutes we've been very, I don't know, more leaning towards the negative side of like what could happen. But considering
Yeah.
the current track history of Epic Games, how, I'm gonna ask you guys this: what do you think about their track record as a big corporation compared to other corporations like, let's say, Apple or Adobe or Autodesk? Like, given what
Well,
Epic Games has done, yeah. Like, what do you think?
well, just going back to the whole like legal battle with Apple. I mean, it just seems like they're disruptors. Like they that's sort of their recurring tactic. Like they like to like everything they do is disruptive basically of like the current way of things, right?
Mm.
So the reason they got into that legal argument with Apple was because they violated Apple's terms of use, and maybe they planned it the whole time, or like they had it, they were, maybe they've been thinking about doing that for a while, but uh sort of there is no, like, it's kind of, it's, they don't really operate within the constraints of
Yeah, but I think
the
like
rules.
but I think one of the main things that you might see in their actions is kind of like the strategy to lower the barrier for entry to the whole business for everyone, because they're giving away mega grants to applications that are kind of like user oriented to give people easier access, like the Quixel thing and the Mixer.
Yeah,
for example, they're kind of like doing a quite nice competitive product for the Substance thing that is kind of super dominant on the texturing side, right? Some people are maybe using Mari, but these are like super high end, I don't know, movie people or whatever, rather niche compared to the Substance user base, right? And they are giving it away totally for free, and it's like maybe it's not a super one-to-one solution, like an alternative, but it's already kind of competitive. And they are also funding Blender, so like generally like trying to make this whole environment of prepared for creating game art, or generally 3D. It seems like they are very much game oriented, because this is probably their source of revenue, right? That's natural. That's their focus. And the other things that it's even in the licensing of Unreal, right? If you read that this is for free for product visualization, architectural visualization, and all the stuff. It's like kind of like treated as a separate parallel branch, and they're kind of like not interested in milking that cow, right? It's okay, they can use it for free. We're purely interested in the game dev market, because that's big sums of money, big piles of games being sold all across the globe for everyone, like, right? Product visualization is like a niche thing. It's like an industry thing, right? You're kind of catering to architects. Are also, it's a quite big industry, but it's just the industry, right? And it's catering to the industry, and the game dev is kind of like it's catered to the general public of the world, right? So you have the biggest possible client base imaginable, right?
But in a way, it's like they're also lowering the barriers they're also kind of homogenizing like the industry, the CG industry as a whole. Like, because if for example more product visualizers and architectural visualizers use Unreal, I mean, the set of skills that they develop in using Unreal will be able to transfer almost entirely, almost one-to-one to the game industry. Like, basically, by doing this, if the game industry becomes Unreal dependent, then any other, and so do all these other industries. Basically, if an archivist designer realizes that they've had enough of the architectural industry, and they want to try something new, they could qualify as asset creators for environments, let's say, or like they'd be able to transfer basically their experience directly into asset creation, let's say. And
Honestly,
mainly it will be because of the same software they're used, like because they will be working with Unreal and be rendering in real time,
honestly
you
though,
know. Like,
man, like that is not a bad thing to be like.
no, exactly. It's not a
Like
bad thing at all.
yeah, but like you know that thing where I mean, you guys use ZBrush, right? You guys use Blender. You
Mhm.
guys have tried Maya, Substance Painter, and does it not annoy you a little bit? Where why the
No, it
hell
totally
are the
annoys.
controls are not unified? Like, okay,
Exactly,
I
yeah.
wanna orbit the mouse in Blender. I'm gonna hold the middle mouse button. Oh, I wanna do the same thing in Maya and Substance Painter. I have to press Alt left click, and then
Man,
ZBrush. I have to like fucking, I don't know, like hold Alt, hold right click, and then release the Alt
yeah.
button. Like what the fuck?
I would honestly just like to tab into all of these different modes in from one DCC. To be
Yeah.
honest, like I would love to like to be able to use like Substance Painter's functionality um inside of, well, in my case, Blender, right?
Yeah.
Because that would be the best. Like I'm not a fan of like switch, like having to launch like a completely new program every time I'm moving on to the next stage of, you know,
Mm.
and then of the production pipeline. And then if I decide that I want to adjust something on my model, I'm gonna have to like go back into Blender, re-export the model, re-import it into my existing Substance project, and hope that everything stays, like nothing gets messed up in the,
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
that's probably also, a case of using the standards, right? Right now with the USD, for example, coming, and the UDIMs and all the stuff that's coming as a standard kind of, format of doing things. That's kind of that might happen, like despite all the different, caterers of software, right? If they all adapt to the same principles, right? The same standards. That's just called standardization, right? And that's solving a lot of problems because
Yeah. No, but okay.
you
So
don't have to like reinvent the wheel, right? It's like the metric system, for example, or whatever kind of standard system that everyone agrees to use. But it's still like the world's divided here, because there's the
imperial.
imperial system, right? That the British and the US uses, and there's the metric system, for example, used in Europe and a lot of other places, right? And like there are these kind of like things in world in general, right? When you like the languages, the languages themselves, right? These are the barrier for a lot of communication and stuff like that. But that doesn't change the thing that always there are different languages, and I think like that's
So
that's giving people some hard time sometimes. But on the other hand, it gives also like a lot of variety and and interesting stuff that's going on around the world.
Yeah.
So
doing so your stance is basically
it's like we had this conversation with Heavy Poly, for example, with this about this app of his like for painting. It's like it's very different than Photoshop. It's very different than every other possible app for this purpose, and it seems very annoying for people who are kind of used to the Photoshop way, so to speak, like because it's not meant to be like Photoshop, and it's like it being annoying or different. It's also its value, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just invented differently, and it cannot be really, if it became totally like Photoshop, it would just like lose its edge. That's in my opinion, right?
Yeah, but no, okay, so but then like in terms of like Amiel was saying, let's say Unreal does become the standard, and as with anything, right? Like it won't become the absolute only thing that's that's available to use and that will be developed. It's not like everything else will become deprecated. So there will be like a standard for the majority of users, let's say. But then there will also always be these alternative solutions. So, I mean, it won't really be too different from the metric system or from what you were describing now, like all of these different alternatives to Photoshop, and you know, everyone has their own preference. Like Unreal and Blender, for example, are not exactly the same in how they operate, and some people might just might prefer Blender, even if the difference isn't that like that big, right? So that's always going to be the thing. So the question is, what then would be so bad, like about what then would be so bad in what would happen with Epic and Unreal sometime in the future? Like if it keeps just looking at the trend now, like what would be so bad about Unreal Engine being the most having the highest, for example, search engine queries, and being the thing that most people use, even if the other softwares are still out there and being developed and doing a really good job of updating their feature sets? Like how, like, right? Like what?
I
For
guess
me,
we'll have
like,
to. I just guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
honestly though, I
No
am
one can
super supportive about this. Like, you know, when you're cooking, you're in the kitchen, you're cooking, and you're looking at the recipe, and the recipe says 1 tablespoon of this, 2 tablespoons of that, and then you get the like 1 thumb of ginger. What the hell is a thumb, right? So there is something to say about like having like a popular standard to stick to. It just makes everything easier. And then sure, you have other alternatives that come and go. If they wanna like do their own thing, they can also follow the standard, right? Like I think there's nothing wrong with seeing the alternatives pop up. Yeah, use the same thing, use the same controls. You know, don't try to be cool like ZBrush. Don't be ZBrush. You know?
Yeah.
Don't try to reinvent the
Man,
wheel if the wheel is working perfectly fine, I think.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, so okay, so I think at this point it's pretty clear that uh like we're actually we're actually kind of for, like, we're actually cool with what's happening, right? Or
Yeah. I mean,
but
look, let's look at Adobe for example. I think sometime in late 2019, Adobe bought Substance, or bought Algorithmic, the mother company of Substance. And for the longest time, Algorithmic was like the saint of all texturing.
Mhm.
People went from making textures in Photoshop and getting them from Google Images to like, okay, let's just texture
Yeah.
everything in Substance Painter, right?
Yeah.
And it was cheap. It was like an affordable package. And then Adobe came in out of nowhere. Oh, we just bought Substance. And then I remember vividly, everybody was so scared. Like, oh my god, we're gonna be paying for the Adobe Creative Cloud. Oh no, I don't want
Yeah.
Photoshop. And then 2 years later, nothing's changed. The only thing
Yeah.
that's changed is the YouTube channel is called Substance by Adobe. But then other than that, like you really there hasn't been any change. So I think going back to the question here is, you know, what's so or rather compared to other companies, where do you think this is gonna go? Because like we've seen other companies take other companies and absolutely
Yeah.
destroy them. Like we know about Disney, we know about Netflix. So yeah, where do you guys think Epic's gonna go from here after getting
Well,
Artstation?
okay, honestly, I think that like, of course, like eventually there will be a change in leadership in Epic, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's Todd Sweeney, right? Todd Sweeney is
Yeah,
is
I think
the
so.
right. I hope I got that right. But anyway, unless Todd Sweeney becomes a cyborg, is able to transplant his consciousness into a machine or whatever, like, he's gonna someone is gonna take his place, and we don't know what direction that someone might want to take Epic Games, and he'd have all of this leverage over the industry and the market, right? So that's uncertain, but I'm kind of optimistic because consumer power is way more of a thing than it ever was before, because just because like everybody is able to be much more, like the consumer sentiment is much more visible now, right?
Yeah.
And companies have to kind of scramble every time there's a major like outcry, right? So I mean, if this trend continues, like that will sort of act as a regulatory system for Epic Games, no matter no matter who's in charge. And that means they can't really stray too far from the initial mission statement that they made, right? Unless maybe it's like 50 years down and no one even remembers like how Epic became Epic, you know? So, but yeah, generally I think that like the future is pretty bright, and I don't see any way that they might like underhandedly destroy like the ecosystem that exists today. It's not like Maxim isn't going anywhere. Autodesk is probably not going anywhere. I don't think Blender's going anywhere. You know that all of these other distributors like aren't really struggling either. Like they're not really dying out anyway. So yeah, like so with Epic, even if Epic does become the biggest sort of like the biggest company there is in the CG industry, I can't really think of how that might not turn out okay for us.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like maybe you guys have some kind of like some theories, some conspiracy theories, or just theories.
I would just say one thing to you, my Padawan. Never underestimate the power of the dark side.
Speaking of Padawans, though, we gotta get this straight. At least Epic Games is not like Disney, right? Or not like, because we know what happened with Disney, right? They bought Marvel, and then they bought Star Wars, and then they ended up buying Fox. So there was this thing where they were buying up movie studios, and everybody was like, "Oh my god, everything's gonna be under Mickey Mouse," right? And at first, it was perfectly fine. We saw stuff, and we saw Avengers, we saw movies, and then we were like, "Okay, this is fine." But then the Star Wars trilogy came out, and for those who don't know what happened, that was a huge bomb. Like they put everything in. It had this weird energy where there was no plot. It was written on the spot, I think, and then something about like cancel, like the fans were like canceling it.
SJW,
friendly
content.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure if you guys remember, if you guys have watched Endgame, like there's a scene near the end, and spoiler alert, they're fighting the final battle, and then Spider-Man's wounded, and he's got like the gauntlet, and then Captain Marvel comes in. And then all the other girls are like, she needs help. And then the camera pans out, and it's this like woman shot. And nothing wrong with like women being like amazing superheroes, but it's those kinds of creative decisions clearly made by a higher up, where it's like this is weird. No, this is clearly a business decision.
Yeah, like no, but I mean, like just to be clear, like I think it's, you know, it's great that they're sensitive to like these issues, and they're trying to kind of be more inclusive and like more respectful of like these new, you know, of like it's cool that they did that. Now they did that for the female fans, let's say. That's awesome. But then I guess when it gets to a point where you sacrifice the integrity of what you're creating to pander to these like socio-political ideologies, just so you can make an extra buck. That's when that really sucks, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like it's like the Star Wars. What happened with Star Wars was pretty crappy.
Yeah.
Man,
But yeah,
like
going back, like at least Epic Games did not go that route in the I guess the space of monopolies where someone could take everything you like and really turn it into mush that is unrecognizable, right? I think
yeah,
with Epic and Adobe, right, they are getting software that we know and love, but at least they're relatively hands off about it. Like, okay, it's under their umbrella now, but it's still what we remember, right?
yeah. We're not gonna micromanage like the guys who actually created this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and and again, I think it's also because like I don't think any company can really do that now without being scrutinized, without being like subject to the scrutiny of the people, like
Yeah.
because like that any like whatever the sentiment is on Reddit or whatever other forums are out there and on whatever platform is out there will basically undo any sort of marketing effort that a company had been doing, right? So
Mhm.
I mean, it's a powerful thing, and no one is really going to try and dismiss that anymore. So yeah, like I think it's gonna be all right. I just can't believe that. Like, there's just this weird feeling, and maybe it's
Yeah.
unfound. Maybe it's just that natural sort of skepticism. Like it's too good to be true. There's got to be something. But I mean, I can't think of any like tangible thing to back that feeling up. But it's there,
Yeah.
just lingering in my gut. So I don't know. Who knows? I guess it's, yeah, like DJ says, it's all we can do is really wait and see.
Yeah. Question for
But
question for you
still,
guys,
generally, it's
man.
amazing. Like it's
Yeah.
amazing to see.
Yeah. Question for you guys though. Steam versus Epic Game Store. Who do you think's winning?
Again, like, sorry, I have absolutely no idea like on that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not a
But
very very big gamer myself, but recently
Mhm.
I've been using Epic Store more than if for whatever I was using it, because that's not much, so I'm not a good
Mhm.
I still
Good.
use Steam though. Like,
good probe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a weird thing. Like, we know that Epic Games is like what you mentioned earlier. They're trying to disrupt the industry, right? They go against Apple. They got the Fortnite money. They're buying everything, and apparently they're also fighting Steam, right? And what do you guys think about this whole strategy of, okay, here's Steam with like a loyal, very big store and like a loyal fan base versus Epic Game Store. Here are our games. Hey, here's a free game every 2 weeks. What do you guys think about that? Like, if you guys were like a user and you guys had the time to play games, where would you what are your thoughts on this?
man, honestly, like I free games every 2 weeks, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
what are you
Yeah.
gonna like?
I
Yeah,
can
thanks.
I can admit being guilty of downloading a few of these free
The
games,
downloading everything.
not playing not playing them really,
Yeah.
because when I really wanted a game that I wanted to play, like the latest one which I did was the remake of Tony Hawk Pro Skater
Yeah.
2, and
Yeah.
I bought it. Of course, waited for a nice promotion to buy it cheaper than the usual price, and just bought it, right, and played it really because I wanted to play this particular game.
Yeah.
But if you're more into games, yeah, they are quite, they are not giving away just like crappy games, but really good,
Mhm.
like even high end games for free,
Yeah.
like just for a short period. So if you kind of like watching this, hunting for a chance, it's an option for you.
Yeah. Do you guys think it's enough to make you switch, for example?
Uh, Well, I mean, like renounce one over the other.
Yeah, yeah.
Probably not. I'd probably do a double take. But is that what's going on? Like
No,
it's gonna
if
be
you
either
had
Epic or Steam now.
if you had to choose, no, it's more like because what's happening right now is everybody's on Steam, everybody's buying their games on Steam, and everybody's getting the free games. And then they're just like, okay, all the free games that I got for free are over there, and all my curated collection that I paid money for goes to Steam. So if you were one of those people who you were from the Steam side and you have more games on Steam, and then you've got like an equal amount of games from the Epic Game Store, and they're all
Mhm.
great games and they're all free, would that entice you to like, maybe I should start buying from the Epic Game Store, like spend my hard-earned money, brand new game, Epic Game Store.
Honestly, if like they're able, if they sold games at lower rates when they weren't giving them out for free, and if the interface like in the community was more or less the same, then I mean, I might just like, but like just on the hard like the hard criteria, then yeah, I'd probably make the switch. But sort of like as with anything, it's like the community aspect is kind of a big deal too, right? Like it's not always the bigger and better or or the cheaper that like will get people to kind of jump ship. It's I mean, if I were like a proactive member in the Steam community, then I probably wouldn't switch at all. Like like I wouldn't even like turn my head.
Yeah, but wonder.
But as a casual gamer, yeah, for sure.
Just wonder what's stopping people from using both, right? Right? Is it just like is it not convenient to use both at the same time, or?
I think it's more of like I like to call this the Netflix conundrum, fancy names. But you know how before Netflix was a thing, you would go to the DVD store, you would look for a movie, and you would buy the DVD, and you had a player.
But right now with Netflix, you have also other options like I don't know HBO or
yeah,
Disney
that's the
Plus,
thing
whatever.
though.
And then people are using
No.
services at the same time simultaneously. Just like for specific titles, they use this one, and for other ones, this one.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Like that is the Netflix conundrum. That is the problem where in the old days everybody was just on Netflix. If you wanted to watch something, any movie or any series, you just need to subscribe to one service and you got everything you need. And I think a lot of people were pirating stuff beforehand. But when Netflix came along, they were like, you know what? Paying a subscription fee isn't so bad. If it means I have unlimited access to anything I want to watch on demand. And then everybody saw it and they were like, hey, Netflix is doing great. We're going to make our own streaming server. So now we have Disney Plus, we have Hulu, we have HBO Max. And now you're starting to think, and yeah, you're right. There are some people who pay for multiple subscription services, right? But isn't there like a thing where people just get tired of like, oh, there's so much stuff to go around, so many services to go to. I just want to stick to one. I want to have just one thing to think about. And yeah, that's I guess that's where the Steam Epic Games thing comes in, where you can use both.
Shit.
But you'd rather just like use one, right? Like you'd rather just like not think about I have to go to Humble Bundle for this game or go to GOG for this, or I'd rather just stick to Steam, get everything on Steam. Worry about that.
What's weird is like I think I think something hit me, and I think I have a conspiracy theory now.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because
finally,
so let's say that the goal is to get everyone using Unreal, and so far it's working. Mm-hmm. So the 2 generations later, everyone's developing games with Unreal Engine. Mm-hmm. They can decide to and then like they might eventually slip in a term if it isn't there already, that if you publish a game with Unreal, you you distribute it in Epic Games exclusively, and maybe by then Epic Games becomes so big that nobody cares, right? And so like maybe the threat isn't really for us like creators after all. Like the threat is really more of like the competitor platforms, right? Because if right now like uh both Steam and Epic are distributing the same games and Epic is giving a few of them out for free, what happens later on when all of the best, highest rating games are all made with Unreal and sold exclusively on the Epic Game Store, which by then is so big that nobody who used Unreal Engine for free is going to complain about like the exclusivity clause,
Honestly,
right? It's like, yeah, sure.
I think you might be onto something. Cause okay, quick mind test, I guess. Why do people buy consoles?
I wouldn't know because I don't own one.
Okay.
I'm
I'll,
sorry.
I'll give you a hint. If you wanted to play, okay, what are you? Are you a Nintendo guy or are you a Sony or Xbox type guy?
Uh, I guess I'd be an Xbox type guy.
Xbox,
Growing
okay.
up, I was an Xbox type guy.
Okay, shit, I don't know anything about Xbox. Okay,
Mm.
let's.
But I have positive thoughts about Nintendo.
Okay. Let's like. I'll make you answer this. Okay, so you're a Nintendo guy, and you wanna play, I don't know, the newest Super Mario game. Do you spend money to buy a Nintendo Switch to play that game, or do you just cry and not bother because you don't want to buy a console?
Might be the case, right? If I really wanted to play this particular game, that might be the
Precisely. The reason people buy consoles
the incentive.
is besides being more affordable than a regular mid-range gaming PC, is because there are games that are exclusive to that console. Like you cannot play The Last of Us Part 2 on an Xbox or PC. You can only buy it on PlayStation, right? You can't buy any Nintendo games unless you have a Nintendo console. So who knows, man? I think you're onto something where if you can you can only
might
play
be
this.
that might be the conspiracy theory about the Cyberpunk thing when they released it and they kind of worked just on a beefy PC, so it's kind of like exclusively beefy PCs. Because if you try to play it on PlayStation, it's like you're torturing yourself, right?
You need to be the upper class elite to play this game.
Yeah.
You
need that additional chipset in your mind.
Okay. Think of, going back though. If you guys let's think let's think like an entrepreneur. If you guys had Fortnite money and you wanted to beat Steam, what would you do to Epic Games Store to win against Steam? If you had to change anything or buy anything or do anything as an entrepreneur, what would you guys do?
Well, honestly, it would be that kind of start giving out a few games for free, and then meanwhile like propagate like my game development software to all of the independent gamers who are going to make hits. You know, like just in terms of numbers, like because there are so many that are using Unreal, like there's bound to be one or two or 10 who make big hits, and then because they used Unreal for free, like I might be able to leverage that to get to work out some sort of exclusivity deal or something similar that might give me leverage and turn over like competitor game distributors. So I mean, like well, I'll say that now, like now that that's sort of kind of come up.
Okay, so like
Right,
I have like an idea with like
Mhm.
okay, if they wanted to like destroy Steam right now with all that money they have, all they need to do is do one thing. They just
Mhm.
need to get into a cloud gaming service. Basically go like, okay, you can buy your games on the Epic Games Store, but for a special subscription fee, you can all if you let's say you don't have a PC or you don't have a
Oh my
graphics
God,
card,
yeah.
just
Uh-huh.
play on a cloud service on our store.
Dude,
Right?
yeah. That would be insane.
Because definitely
mean-
right now, like nobody has graphics cards. It's hard to get the PS5 at retail price, and it's a global shortage. It's a global chip shortage. So I feel like if you wanted to beat Steam right now, get into cloud gaming.
Damn. For sure. Yeah, like that's. But wait a minute. Doesn't Steam already like have something of that sort? Or I remember kind of like, isn't there something like? Couldn't you kind of even play a game remotely, like using a non?
You can.
Like you could play the game. You could play a game from your mobile because you connect to a server. Isn't there?
Yeah,
No?
yeah, yeah. You can.
I'm not
you
sure.
can. I think you can, but it's obviously it's like that thing with that Gabe Newell said, right? Where piracy isn't a piracy problem; it's a service problem, right? If you give the
Right.
customer something valuable that makes their life easier for a price, they will gladly pay it if it makes their life easier. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and the
Steam
price is
does
fair.
have it, right? But yeah, you
Mhm.
can't really. You're gonna have to be some tech genius to set up a server or whatever to get your thing working, right?
Right. Hmm. Man, yeah, that's
Right, so
actually
every-
pretty. That's deep.
So everything moving to cloud, and that I think the whole pandemic thing really increased that that direction even more. And people are working online, playing online. Everything's kind of like cloud based. Even rendering is cloud based.
Yeah, man.
Surprise, surprise!
Just like render servers were like we're well known, right? Like garagefarm.net, right?
A shameless plug.
It's a pretty smooth transition, I gotta say.
Hell yeah, man. But,
Oh man,
mhm.
I wish you never told me about Epic giving out free games.
Oh, you didn't know?
I'm looking at their site right now.
Now
Yeah,
you're going to get addicted.
they've been
Oh
giving
my
free
God.
games since last year. Like I got Grand Theft Auto for free. I got Alien Isolation for free. It's like, oh my god, like Watch Dogs 2. It's literally just
What?
free.
No way.
They give indie games, and then they'll give like every once in a while like a AAA game. So it's like, ooh.
Jeez.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm looking at like this Magic the Gathering based game that's. I mean, it looks like it's kind of going to be sort of in the format of like the higher end CRPGs
Mhm.
that are out now.
Yeah.
Sorry, anyway. Shouldn't be talking about this stuff
Hell
on
yeah.
our podcast. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I guess.
Sorry.
I guess we just have to wrap it up and go play something.
Yeah, I guess that's
Yeah.
a great place to like end it. You guys need any cloud services or the future, if you need to render something, head on over to garagefarm.net.
Nice. I love how it got there at the end. But like, yeah, no. In summary, though, anyway, like, yeah. So, how would we summarize what we think about this whole topic?
I guess summarize it in 3 words, each of us.
Oh, okay. Three. I don't know if I can do it in 3 words, but maybe. Oh yeah, okay. 3 words. It's gonna be okay.
Isn't it like it's gonna be okay?
That's 4 words. I'm sorry, but it'll be okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of paraphrase one of our presidents here in Poland and say I'm pro and against at the same time.
Conceive, believe, achieve. From Michael Bisping.
Damn. Nice.
I guess that's it, man.
Yeah. Okay, well, good talking to you guys. And for anyone listening, thanks for tuning in. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye.